Morning guys, my name is Shanx and I am the CEO of happinessperkm. I've been riding for the last 30 years and I've toured close to about 4.5 lakh kilometers, just like the people around me. All of these guys are actually long distance tourers. They've toured a lot and they're probably in the best place to tell us which is the motorcycle today which is going to take over from the mantle of the classic 350. We've got four very promising motorcycles from the Benelli Imperial 400, from the Jawa 300 Classic, we've got the Meteor, and we've got the Honda CV350, the Highness. These four motorcycles are going to be competing in a shootout to figure out which motorcycle is the best suited for touring across the country. The specifications of these motorcycles are there right now for you to see. But take it from me guys, we are not going to be talking about these specifications right now. These specifications on paper. We are going to be talking to real riders who have ridden about 10,000 kilometers in this very calendar year. These guys know their machines. They have ridden various types of machines. They are the best judge to figure out whether a motorcycle is going to perform in the most hardened of tasks today in India, that's touring long distance. So we're going to start by going over one motorcycle to another. Our first contender today is the Benelli Imperial 400, a 374cc motorcycle which is being championed by Ashish Bell. So we're going to go across to Ashish and ask him what he feels about this motorcycle which he has been riding now for quite some time. So let's get his ideas, guys.
Hello guys, my name is Ashish Behel. Usually you see me with speaking about the Interceptor. Today I'm speaking about the Benelli. And the Benelli, honestly, it's a revelation. It's got a long wheelbase. It's got enough power to pull all day. We could argue that the low-end torque is a little iffy, but in terms of features and specs, the tachometer has everything. It's got RPM, it's got kilometers, it's got trip, it's got a nice looking key. The fit and finish is fabulous. And I haven't seen enough of this bike actually. There are some good parts and there are some bad parts. The parts that we don't really like are these are very thick and clunky from a design point of view, but they ride well. Honestly, like I'm saying, to me this was, why didn't I ride this before? I don't want to draw examples, but this does ride like a better version of a rather famous brand. The riding position is lovely. Split seats. Now here comes the downside, which personally I don't like, but I could be wrong. It's the dry weight is 205 kilos. Now while on tarmac, fantastic, but moment you get into off-road, on-road, no road, if I have to wheel this around, that's problem number one for me as a long rider. Second, while the tires are good, they are tube tires. So God forbid I have a puncture, which means I'm going to be pushing 205 plus 12 to 15 liters of fuel, which means approximately 220 kilos, and that's no fun.
With luggage? With
luggage, so we are talking about almost 250 kilos. But what they have worked on, and this is, kudos to Benelli India and Felix Auto Works where the motorcycle has come from. Simple things. The styling is really nice, looks extremely retro. The lighting, everything works. Everything works fabulously.
The other thing, did you see the way it picked up on the tarmac or at about 6,000 RPM?
Yes. What I wanted to talk about, the low-end torque, bit sluggish. But moment you cross 4,000 RPM is the sweet spot.
Absolutely.
It comes into its own. And one of the riders mentioned, I think Barry was riding it a little while earlier, probably one of the quickest bikes in terms of top speed.
Yes, amongst the four, I think this will have the fastest.
Yes, and plus what I like about it, that makes long riding plush. It's got a longish wheelbase.
Yeah.
And because of its weight, it feels kind of planted. You don't get thrown around. And we did take it off-road a bit. Doesn't wobble. The suspension is a bit iffy, especially the rear suspension, because it tends to be a little on the softer side, but I'm sure that can be adjusted. And the other thing which I really don't get, and this is, again a personal point of view, for me, in terms of design, this giant exhaust pipe looks like a chimney. It doesn't go with...
It looks very old world bulletish, right?
Yes, and it doesn't go with the aesthetics of the bike. I would have hoped that it's, a bit shorter. And the other thing which is a problem with most cruisers is the rear brake. The bite is iffy. It does the job, but the good parts is for this kind of money and for this kind of segment, the meter, the console, the information it displays is really good.
Very nice.
Yes, these are adjustable levers.
Adjustable levers, and you can adjust the braking.
Yes.
Wow.
Overall, a surprising package. Honestly, like I said, I haven't seen enough of it. And great going. Yeah.
So we were talking to Ashish, and then he was telling us about his experience with this motorcycle. I really liked the way he summed it up. Ashish, just to close out on the Benelli 400, I want to know from you your biggest like, your biggest dislike, and if you had to score this motorcycle on the 4 that you have ridden today, what's the score that you would give this motorcycle?
The biggest like for me is after 4000 RPM, which means open roads. This bike can pull effortlessly all day.
Very nice.
Biggest dislike is the weight and the fact that it has tube tires. Because the amount of riding that we do, I can't keep taking the wheel off or looking for a mechanic if I have a puncture. So to me, from a long rider point of view, that's an absolute no-no. I would give this bike 6 on 10. I would have given it 8 on 10 if this had tubeless tires and this was a little lighter. See, because moment you are on a mountain slope, either incline or decline, the 205 kilos of this is going to kick in. What makes it easier is the right seating position is not that high. So even with my 5 feet 8 inches, I can handle it, but I don't want to be handling this kind of weight.
Alright.
Sorry, could be better if they come up with an upgrade or do something to it. This has serious potential. It's a very, very less talked about motorcycle.
It's a classic.
Absolutely.
It's a modern classic, and a modern classic anyway would go with spoke tires, not with alloys. But then, yeah, I get your point. You know, the worry of being on a tour and, you know, figuring out that you've got a puncture. I understand where you're coming from. Maybe we need to look at figuring out how to get an Outex set into that thing. Or alright, so now guys, we're going to step across to the Jawa, and we're going to be talking to Intaka Abaslam, who's been riding this Jawa for quite some time now.
Thanks Shanx, and thank you happinessperkm. Talking about my Jawa, what I love about this bike first is the look of it. I love retro bikes, I love touring, and the other best thing about this bike is the comfort when I'm riding it. Of course, I have to tweak my seat a little bit. The second best thing about what my bike does is tour effortlessly. This bike goes to speeds like 120 very smoothly, no vibrations at 100 and beyond, and I have taken it to 125 and I have driven it up to Rishikesh from Delhi. The smaller wheelbase actually quite helps in maneuvering the traffic. It makes it very effortlessly to go within the traffic of Delhi. It's crazy out there. So when I started Noida Expressway, it goes up to 110, 120. Again, very smooth. And when I enter Delhi, I get a lot of traffic. But I am not at all worried because of the height of the bike, the comfort of riding, the easy maneuvering because of the handlebar. I mean, I don't really have any problems with any of the parts of the bike for that matter.
And this is also only liquid cooled engine, right?
Yes. So again, in the urban commute, that liquid cooled engine helps. There is a fan also that is put, which works. And riding here this morning, so out of all the 4 bikes here today, this one has the highest BHP. It is a liquid cooled engine and it has 6 speeds.
6 speed, liquid cooled, APS bike. Yep, I see how it all adds up to being the best tourer for you at least. How is your, what is your biggest like? What is your biggest dislike about this motorcycle?
So my biggest like is that it's both a tourer and an urban commuter. Effortless both in traffic and on the highway. The biggest dislike so far, I've been riding it for a year now, the biggest dislike remains the seating position. I'll have to tweak the seat to a better, more comfortable position.
I don't think your pillion is going to be very comfortable on this motorcycle.
The point that I missed was that I can never ride a pillion. I cannot never ride a pillion because of the low ground clearance and the seat length.
Low ground clearance and seat length. Okay, so these are a deal breaker for you in terms of your like.
Yeah, but it compensates very well.
Score, for example, what is the score that you would give this motorcycle?
I would still rate it 8 on 10 basis my riding experience on this bike and the way it looks.
All right. Okay, guys. So that was Intakab giving us his views on the Jawa Classic 300, and his biggest like on the motorcycle was its maneuverability and the lower wheelbase, which helps him, maneuver through traffic. It's a brilliant urban commuter plus a tourer. His biggest dislike is also the wheelbase again and your ground clearance, because the wheelbase, for example, is making sure that his seat is not really big enough to carry a pillion. So these were two things that actually stopped him from giving a 10 on 10 to the motorcycle. So let's now move on. And now, guys, we have come to the latest launch, the Royal Enfield Meteor 350cc. And our champion for this motorcycle today is Sumit Berry.
Hi guys.
Sumit, you've ridden this bike and you've been pretty much complacent with the other three, but you've generally fallen in love with this, so we've decided you're going to be the champion for this motorcycle. So what are your thoughts on this motorcycle?
So Shanx, first of all, I would like to thank Brown Automobiles for lending their test motorcycle to us. They have been so kind. And guys, this is the Supernova variant, which is the top end variant of the Royal Enfield Meteor 350. It does not have the shield yet because they'll install it later. Anyway, so let me talk about why do I like this motorcycle. First of all, the design. It's very retro. The single pod instrument cluster, this speedo. Though they have taken away the tachometer, but I really like this side mounted single pod. And the tripper navigation. Okay, there's a TFT screen which shows me navigation, and I can sync it with my Google Maps through the RE app. So that is quite a nice feature for my touring. I don't need a cradle or any phone mount. I just need to keep my phone in the pocket and I can use the navigation, because that is what you need the phone for. Secondly,
Nice.
the suspension. The suspension is good for tarmac only. In off-roads, it's very jerky. It's quite tough to maneuver it in tarmac because it's very hard. So the alloy wheels are the major highlight for me in this motorcycle because they come from the factory. I don't need to buy the cheap alloy wheels available in the aftermarket. So I'm sorted because I've got tubeless tires and I'm sorted for my touring. Next, I'll come to the most important factor, which is the riding position. It is very, very comfortable. I feel planted when I'm sitting on the motorcycle. The footrests are a bit, in the front, a bit front set. It is quite comfortable. I'm very much within the motorcycle because it's a bit up from here. And the wheel size.
That's because of the 19-inch front.
Yes,
wheels
it has
and
got a
the-
19-inch front and a 17-inch rear. Coming to a 17-inch rear, it gives me a lot of options if I need to upgrade my tire. Because there are a lot of options available. I can go for a 150 section or a 160 section. So that is quite good for people who are enthusiasts for custom things in their motorcycle, which many RE owners are. You see the quality of levers. It's quite unique. The design, it is seamless. It just flows into the wire. You see, it's good. And the switches, the retro toggle switches.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's really
that's
nice.
a beautiful addition in the motorcycle. And now the RE motorcycle come with the inbuilt hazard function. I can turn on the hazard lights here. So again, I don't need to go to the aftermarket.
Nice.
Seats got a split seat arrangement. Rider seat is very comfortable. It gives me a lot of tailbone support when I'm touring, which is very important because during touring, it is the first thing that pains, right? So this is what it is. Even for the pillion, you see that the seat is quite long. If you compare it with the Thunderbird,
It's a very much more comfortable seat for the pillion.
and in the Supernova variant, they provide the backrest also from the factory. So that is very good.
Biggest like, biggest dislike, score.
Biggest like is riding position.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest dislike is it loses steam at about 100 km/h.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, but so if you're not a spirited rider, it's good enough. You can do 100, 105 cruise, fine. No vibrations, much better than the previous RE Thunderbirds and Classic 350. It's a giant leap for them, I must say.
All right. I think they also moved now to the single overhead cam on this. Yeah. So much lesser vibrations.
Correct. And they have got some balancer shafts as well.
Nice. Score.
I would give it a 9 on 10.
A 9 on a 10. Okay. And that was Sumit talking to us about the Meteor and his impression on the motorcycle. And he's rated it pretty highly. I will now move on to the last contender, the Honda Highness, the CB350. And the champion for that today is Shayan Sharma. What are your views?
Thanks, and thanks my fellow riders for making stories. Now let's come to the highness. So, the best part of the motorcycle is technology and the digital thing which Honda has enabled in the motorcycle. So, as some of you knows me that I am a digital guy, a tech guy. So I love those things in the motorcycle because sometimes I need to take the call, sometimes I need to listen music also while riding. So the best part which I like about the motorcycle is that I can connect my mobile phone through Bluetooth and I can play back the music. I can control the calls, taking calls or maybe cancelling the calls, etc., etc. So all of those things I can do with this motorcycle, which the feature I like the most. Then the riding position of the motorcycle is the best. I am currently owning a GT650 and I changed the handlebar to interceptor to get that riding position for touring, but I love the riding position, the handling of the motorcycle. One more point which I wanted to raise in terms of technology is traction control, which none of the competitor bikes which are standing here
Yes,
has.
that's one big point.
So
big
this
plus
bike
point.
has the traction control. So now coming back to the off technology thing, which is anyways a rider specific points which I am going to talk about is this bike has a very good low torque. Yesterday I was riding it with a pillion and I can manage the bike on 40. The icing on the cake is that this bike has a longer seat which helps you to go for a pillion touring where you wanted to take your wife along with you or maybe one of the fellow riders who wanted to go for a touring but he wanted to join you on a pillion. So this bike can help you in that also.
Nice. Okay. Biggest like, biggest dislike.
So the biggest like about this motorcycle for me is the technology enabled things
Alright.
which Honda has introduced, and
The ECU response, the technology on the speedometer,
correct.
and okay, got it.
and the biggest dislike, if I talk about, I think I don't see any dislike on the motorcycle. I am
No
very
dislikes at all.
no dislikes at all.
Nice. So, what's your score on this motorcycle?
The score I will give 10 on 10. For me, it's 10 on 10.
Nice. Okay.
Yes, I am very sure about it.
So, biggest like is your technology, which is basically your ECU, which is your kind of technical stuff that they have done on the speedometer to the user interfaces they're giving you.
Correct.
No dislikes on the motorcycle.
No.
And your score is a 10 on 10.
Correct.
All right. Anything else you want to add, Shanx?
Yeah, at last I just wanted to thank Zana International
Oh.
and Vibhas for lending his bike to us for the review. Big cheers to him. Thanks Vibhas. Thanks Zana.
So, okay, guys, you heard our 4 champions today. They were talking about the 4 motorcycles that they've been test riding to figure out which one is the best tourer today in India. Let's go through it once again. This is the Benelli 374cc. This vehicle scored a 6 on a 10. The good things about this bike was the kind of power it has, the kind of top speed it has, the kind of high range torque that it's able to deliver. A beautifully classic looking motorcycle, scored a 6 on 10. This is the Jawa. The Jawa was rated at an 8 on 10. This vehicle's biggest strength is basically its maneuverability within traffic. It's also the most peppiest motorcycle. It's it's a liquid cooled engine with 6-speed gearbox. So therefore, this is probably the fastest to hit the 100, for example. The third motorcycle that was reviewed today was the Meteor by Royal Enfield. This was championed at about 9 on 10. The biggest things on this was the ergonomics, the kind of seating position, and the kind of technology that is available on this motorcycle. The Honda Highness scored a 10 on 10 from our champion. The battle largely seems to be between the Royal Enfield Meteor and the Honda Highness. The Honda Highness scores basically on the kind of technology that it's being able to deploy on the motorcycle, the kind of tactile feedback it's got, and we heard literally no negative points about this motorcycle as of now. So, although we say, at the end of the day, these vehicles are all tourers at the end of the day. Some of them have some very, very good plus points. Some of them are suitable for people at 6 feet of height. Some bikes are suitable for people at 5 feet 6 inches. Some people have different riding styles. Every vehicle is very different. I would suggest obviously that you take a test ride of any of these motorcycles. While we are not recommending any of these 4 motorcycles outright, we do suggest that you take a test ride of these motorcycles just to understand what they are delivering in terms of experience. I think all 4 of them are gems in their own way, and some of them are highly underrated. They have not got their due share under the sun. While Happiness Per km does not really outright recommend any of the 4 motorcycles, we do definitely recommend that you check these motorcycles out for the points that we have mentioned. You've already seen the tech specs that are available on these motorcycles, and they are widely available on all the websites. These are real rider reviews by people who ride. These are guys who understand touring. These are guys who understand motorcycling. If you would like to know more about these motorcycles or anything that you think we have missed out, write into me. My email ID is shankar@happinessperkm.com. You can also join my group, which is Trippin' with Shanx. The link is given below. You can go in there and join my WhatsApp group. Don't forget to click, share and subscribe to our channel, Happiness Per km. Press the bell icon, because then you'll be notified of all videos that are being released by us like these. Thanks guys. Happy tripping.